We are live. We are live. Shalom, shalom, family. As you guys see on the screen, housing in China. This video popped up this morning and I listened to it and I'm like, man, we got to talk about this because it's certain things that we talk about. I know we talk about a lot about America and, obviously it's falling and stuff, but it's a lot of things that people don't know about other economies falling too. And this video right here, we're going to play, a good minute of it, a good, some good minutes of it, but I would definitely suggest you watch the whole video because it explains a lot that you don't even think about. That when you really travel outside of America, you realize how other economies, grow and sustain themselves. And you know, this is something that China does. So just pay attention because it's really happening. Everything that's happening is for a reason.
Yeah, I think it's interesting also when you talk about the standpoint of America, these two global superpowers, I think both of them will end up not being world superpowers because they're seeing it's basically a mirror. They're having the same issues, they're having the same trade war. America is getting ready to get into a housing crisis, but China is also already in a housing crisis, a mortgage crisis that is worse than the pandemic. Now, in our marketing firm, we have worked with so many finance and real estate companies. And so this language, when we're listening to it, is like, oh, snap, this is about to get crazy. So let's look at this video. This seems to be like a breaking news theme that we've been seeing more over the past just couple of days. So this is like upcoming breaking news that you need to understand. Some of their banks are failing. They're saying it's worse than the pandemic.
Yeah, the factories is empty. Since the beginning of the year, I saw another documentary or a news channel in China where the factories hasn't paid their workers since the beginning of the year. It's been like half a year, and a lot of citizens there are upset. So you like the most important thing about this video: pay attention to all economies because pretty much all the superpowers are going to fall eventually. So you gotta really know what's really going on. You gotta play chess, like I always say. You gotta play chess to be 2 steps ahead. Please just think 2 steps ahead always. But shout out to this channel that came up. What's the channel called? Base. What's the channel called?
Business Basics YouTube channel.
Yeah, shout out
Business Basics. Shout out, fair use. Let's get into this. This is crazy.
to them. Yeah, we probably gonna play like 5 minutes, so stay tuned.
Housing crisis in China having a knock-on effect on the rest of the economy.
I know that China is doing very poorly right now. I just saw some reports coming out, and I don't want that to happen to China.
And one of their biggest challenges, the property market.
Young people in China are increasingly flocking to poorer regions in search of rock-bottom housing as the property slump continues.
Things are not going to plan with China's economy. China's a ticking time bomb. China's in trouble. The Economist magazine talks of President Xi's failing model.
Well, Jill, over the past decade, we've seen property in China go from economic growth engine to a risk factor.
In 1989, the Chinese Communist Party showed the world exactly what it feared the most: its own people. Thousands of young Chinese students had gathered in Tiananmen Square, asking for freedom and democracy, something that threatened the CCP's rule. It made them scared. So scared that the CCP decided to launch a brutal attack against its own citizens. Thousands were killed. Thousands more disappeared. All because they dared to hope.
I often joke that I'm retired.
Wow. Already you can just tell, like, wow. It just leaves you speechless because I see that China is trying to make their agreements with Africa. They're trying to, do some networking and things like that, trying to return to their own ancient ways and things of that nature because of what is coming down the pipeline, this global famine, this global recession, where the global south is going to come out on top and the oppressed are going to be first, the first are going to be last, and the last are going to be first. But, China, do y'all remember when we were young, the things that you would hear about China, or at least in my household, you would hear like, China has all these kids, all these children, but now they don't want them to have children anymore. They, have these rigorous education systems. They're so much further ahead, but we're fast forwarding to see, if you didn't know, a lot of Asian countries like China and Japan have some of the highest suicide rates in the world on earth. So it's like, to what extent was it this rigorous education, then implementing this policy of the one child, which evidently showed that they were similar to America and not loving children, right? They started to implement policies that started to cripple their own economy. And now we're seeing what it looks like with their mortgage crisis.
Yeah. For me, I just say just learn how to play chess, because that's what the big players do anyway. They're looking out for Africa for a reason. So let's just get back to the video.
You gotta share it again.
Stay silent and you'll be rewarded with endless jobs, affordable homes, and a future where everyone could get rich if they just keep their heads down. That was the deal. And for a while, it worked. The economy exploded. Cities got bigger, millions moved out of poverty. But the good times didn't last. Today, unemployment is at record highs. The housing market has crashed. Home buyers are refusing to pay mortgages on unfinished apartments. Banks are freezing withdrawals. Factory workers are going months without salaries. Businesses, big and small, are shutting down across the country. And that's why it's not just students protesting this time, it's everyone. I'm sure you guys remember Evergrande back in 2022. With that company's collapse, things got really bad in China. People lost everything. And when people have nothing left to lose, they are not afraid to fight their government. That's why protests were happening all across China against the CCP. But when we covered it back then, our video was demonetized and restricted. It didn't make sense to us, because when we cover other protests, our videos are fine. But covering Chinese protests seems to be a problem. Luckily, YouTube admitted they made a mistake and reversed it. But it took them more than a year to admit their mistake. Now, I have a feeling that since I'm talking about the same subject today, this video may also get demonetized and restricted. So if you guys can help me out and hit that like and subscribe button down below, it truly does help me a lot. Thank you. Now, let's look at how China's real estate crisis started. You see, for a Chinese citizen, owning a home means everything. It's how families plan for retirement, how parents secure their children's future, and how many young men prove they're ready for marriage. In fact, in many parts of China, not having a house means you're not seen as settled enough to even start a family. That's why, for decades, families have poured their entire life savings into property, often buying homes that they don't even plan to live in just to preserve wealth and show security. It became the one thing everyone trusted, because it always seemed to go up. Even the communist government encouraged developers to take massive loans to keep building.
Yeah, like especially coming outside of America, we see this in Tanzania, we see this here in Mauritius. You just see this in other cultures. You got to be, before you even get married, you get what I'm saying? You got to have your house. If you come to if you come to that family and say, hey, I want to marry your daughter, you got to have some type of wealth. And in China, the wealth is real estate. The wealth is housing. So with them doing that, that's like, wow, they really invested in that. That's their investment. They're not invested in stocks and bonds and stuff like that. They want real estate, right? So you got to think about that. Like a lot of people, millions of people invested in real estate. And when the banks couldn't pay or finish the project, they still wanted people to pay what was not finished.
When the people couldn't finish the project, the banks wanted them to pay.
Yeah, the developers. So it's just like, man, like that's shocking. You gotta really think about that. Really think about it.
But I mean, it's the same thing as America. That's why it's like, it's very nuanced. There are Asian countries like the Philippines, Vietnam, maybe Thailand, that keep more of their like traditional customs and cultures. But understand, when you have world superpowers, there are world superpowers in every continent. Africa has a few of them. Nigeria, Egypt, South Africa. When you have world superpowers, they are going to take after the West. They're going to function as Western economies in like a modern day neocolonialism aspect. So China is the world superpower of Asia. So obviously they're going to be taking out these tremendous mortgage loans. They're going to be super surveillancing their children, good deliverance. They're going to be surveillancing their citizens. They're going to be doing all these functions the way that the global elites like to do, which started out in the Roman Catholic Church, which started out in Europe, but has been implemented throughout America and the rest of the world. And so whenever you have a global superpower understand that you should proceed with discernment. Just put it like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's black skin, white skin, green skin, purple skin, it doesn't matter. Understand world superpowers will act as the world acts. The world meaning the Babylonian Roman Catholic Church, the Babylonian European Church, the Babylonian American Church that pushes these huge mortgage loans, gets you in these predatory loan schemes, and then pulls the rug out from under you and says, all right, we own everything now.
Yep.
We just fixed our economy. That's the same thing that we're seeing with the China mortgage crisis. And the youth are waking up, but it's like, you know, in a place like that, their surveillance is so insane that it's like, I'm not even sure what they can do over there about that. Except if I were them, I would definitely leave. I mean, that's why a lot of them do leave. The Chinese are in Africa. The Chinese are in Australia. I'm sure the Chinese are in New Zealand. They're all over the place.
Everywhere, yeah.
Because you can't stay in a society like that. Similar to Western society, you can't stay in societies like that. So it's interesting you have these two different phases. And China is a very vast place. Asia is very vast. Just understand that. You have these two phases where it's like on one side, they're helping African countries. On one side, you know, they're sending troops into Burkina Faso. Check out our previous video on that. On one side, you have all these geopolitical tensions. On the other side, you have the citizens there that feel stuck and are in the middle of this gigantic mortgage crisis, the same way that America is in.
Yeah. Like I say, you just got to see the bigger picture. The Most High will use any and everybody to fulfill prophecy.
Yeah, let's go to the rest of this video because this is like, I remember I saw a video on their ghost towns. I wonder if they're going to talk about this, the ghost towns. I think that kind of ties into it as well.
Officials sold land to raise money, and people kept buying because they believed the risk didn't exist. Soon enough, real estate became the foundation of the modern Chinese dream. And for a while, it worked. Prices rose, wealth grew, people stayed quiet and kept buying. But now, the one thing that held the country together, the so-called safe investment in China, has turned into a ticking bomb. Today, more than 60 million homes across China are sitting empty. That's over 400 million square meters of completed but unsold housing, enough to cover 6 entire Manhattans. And that doesn't even include the half-finished ones, the construction sites that were abandoned midway when the money ran out. According to Goldman Sachs, the total value of stalled or unfinished housing projects is now around 93 trillion yuan. It's nearly $13 trillion. To put that into perspective, that's 8 times what all Chinese homebuyers spent in total last year. And while these homes sit empty or unfinished, the value of the ones already sold is also collapsing. In October of 2024 alone, new home prices dropped by 5.9%, making it the 16th month in a row that prices have declined. You'd be surprised to know that for most Chinese families, their home is their life savings, their retirement plan, and their safety net in case everything else goes wrong. So when housing prices fall, it's not just the property market that takes a hit. It's people's entire sense of security. Their trust in the system starts to crack. And even now, the CCP can't ignore it. Officials are admitting publicly that real estate, which once made up nearly 30% of China's entire GDP, is no longer helping the economy grow. It's
no longer like it made 30% is
That's
a large
That's big.
part.
That's why I was
of
like,
the
yeah, we gotta
GDP.
talk about that. When I heard
30%
that,
is big.
30% of the country's GDP, if that fall, that's even if it's like 7-10% of anything, if that get taken away, it's bad. This is bad.
The gross domestic product, meaning everything that the country is able to produce. Their main producer was obviously real estate, with real estate standing at 30% of the gross domestic product. That's their main driver of revenue. But now, you know, these families, if you empathize with them, these families, you know, they could be in their 50s, they could be in their 60s. They bought this home, built the home, whatever. They were counting on it for retirement because they could either sell it off, pass it down to their children, open a business with it, whatever. They can do different creative entrepreneur things because they're in the global south, they're in Asia. There's different ways of running businesses when you live in Africa or Asia. But with it falling, the value of the homes falling below 5.9%, like if anybody is invested in the stock market, look at it like that. If you see a stock drop below 5.9%, That's a
huge.
big decrease. It
Yeah,
sounds
that's
small,
trillions.
but that's a big decrease, which will eventually lead to an entire downtrend, which is what you teach your clients. That it's like you have to be able to read these charts. You have to be able to understand downtrends, uptrends, resistant levels, all these things, because this ties in with your global economics, your entrepreneur economics. It ties in with everything. It ties in with the strategy that you're going to have in the end times. All of that stuff matters. And it's like, understand that our forefathers, Joseph being one of them, he understood that through prophecy and through the visions the Most High sent him. He understood he had to prepare for the famine that was hitting the world. And so this needs to be an act of preparedness where it's like, the only place that's going to be beneficial in global economic hardship is the continent of Africa, more specifically, Southern Africa.
Yeah,
to be honest.
You gotta think about it. Like, you gotta think of Joseph like really preparing for this famine. Like, that's the mindset that you gotta have. Like, it's gonna take some time for this. Maybe not. You never know. This famine can come sooner than later, or later than
It's already
sooner.
here.
Pretty much it's already here. But like I say, only the Most High knows. But from what this is talking about, thinking that China's pretty much going to be the new um, world leader, pretty much, it's falling too. Like, really, that's what goes in my head. Like, dang, everything's falling. Oh, everything's falling. Duh, everything's falling. You got just really trust in your word. Trust in the instructions the Most High give you and shows you, because it is really right here in front of our eyes, and it's just obvious. When I saw this, I'm like, dang, China 30% of their GDP is real estate, and it's just falling. And then now the factories and stuff, the economy there is falling too. They're not shipping a lot of items out to the biggest consumer.
It all has to crash before whatever next phase is next. Like all of these like Babylonian type economies, these economies that were in bed with Great Britain, Europe, America, they were all working together to oppress, if you look at Psalms 83, to oppress the children of the Most High that are mostly in Africa. Some are scattered throughout Asia and the islands of the sea. But these economies have to fall. But I think it's interesting. You also see European countries like Ireland, like Switzerland. They are saying, I think China will come out and say this eventually as well, probably in the next couple of months. I predict that they will take after Switzerland, Ireland, Greece, that have said, hey, if you move to one of the villages we have out here and you have children, we'll pay you $20,000. We'll pay you $10,000 per child. Just come move out here because 1, our populations are declining. 2, our economy's declining. 3, we have people that aren't even skilled in anything. And so they want all these people to come. So it's interesting how in times past, just the last few decades, children from a Western standpoint, again, were looked at as an issue. But now people with children are looked at, oh my gosh, you're an asset. Let's pay you because you have so many children. You're going to be able to repopulate our earth or our country. Such interesting times, because when we were younger, nothing like this existed. Nothing like this was happening. But now we see this quick shift like, whoa, this is interesting. Check it out. If you didn't know Ireland does that, if you didn't know Switzerland does that, there are multiple countries. Japan even has that. In certain small villages in Japan, they will pay you if you have children to come and live there and go live in their village and farm the land. Why is that? Because they're falling with a society. The main marker of a society falling is not just economic. Economic is a down symptom, like way further down. That's not the first symptom. The first symptom that you have of an economy falling is low marriage rates, and you cannot repopulate. There is no economy if you do not have children. There's no economy because there's nobody to buy and sell. There's nobody to commerce with. There's nobody to trade with. There's nobody to work the jobs. There's nobody to start small businesses. And so the first indicator of a fallen society, or a society that will be declining, i.e. Spain, Portugal, North Korea, South Korea, Japan, is that they cannot repopulate. They don't have any children. This is why one of the first commandments in Genesis was be fruitful and multiply and subdue the earth, because without that command, without having children, you don't have a legacy. When you don't have a legacy, From the Most High standpoint, especially the African Hebraic standpoint, every African knows, because this is culture and custom. This is just new to Americans and Westerners. Every African person knows that if they don't have children, they believe they're cursed. If their children pass, they believe they're cursed. If they cannot repopulate for the next generation and hand down, because wealth isn't that great until it's being passed down, to be honest. And the Most High views it the same way. That's why he made a promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That was his promise, that he would pass down his covenant to his wealth. His covenant to his wealth. Deuteronomy 8 and 18, Deuteronomy 11. I'm giving you the power to get wealth, to establish my covenant with you as it is this day. But in the absence of any child, this is why Abraham and Sarah prayed so much to have a child. They're reaching the old age. They're, again, an African Hebraic perspective. If we don't have children, how's this prophecy? How's this vision? You know, Abraham believed, but Sarah was like, how's this going to come to pass? How are we going to have a chosen seed if we don't have a seed? Right? Okay. So that's why it was such a blessing when Jacob had 12 sons. It was like, oh, this is for a surety, especially if you take the perspective of Abraham as the grandfather when Jacob is alive and he has children. It's like, oh, the 12 tribes, I'm seeing it. This is great. And this is what we need. This is wealth. This is heritage. This is legacy.
And what you're saying, that you got to think about, like when we was growing up in school, that's what we heard about China. Like if you have, was it girls or boys? If you have too many boys or something, you have to, basically they was not trying to have all the children, right?
Because they were so populated.
Yeah.
There were a lot of
so
Chinese.
That could be judgment from the Most High of like, okay, they're trying to probably think that they're doing the right thing, trying to leave a legacy, getting into real estate, getting into, you know, this equity in homes and stuff like that. But now it's like, now it's going down.
Because if it's like if there's no one to live in the homes, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter at all.
If you hate the youth, it doesn't matter. If you despise the youth, you're functioning as the devil. You're functioning as Lucifer. And that's just what it is. China's seeing that now, like, oh, we have all these homes. We have stopped them from having kids. We thought that was great because, you know, there's probably listened to Bill Gates. What was Bill Gates saying? The world's too populated. Lie. It's obviously not, when every country, basically in Western society and some Asian societies, are coming out saying, oh, we have a population issue. Just 2-3 years ago, you were saying it was overpopulated. So which is it? Yeah. Discernment, critical thinking. You got to think in biblical, African mindsets.
What does the most
African?
What is
children are a blessing?
What does the word of the Most High say? Like, really, that's just what it's coming down to. Like, that's literally what it's coming down to. And we gotta trust that. We gotta believe it. We gotta know it, because that's just what it is.
Yes, symptom 1, population decline. Symptom 2, housing decline. Symptom 3, bank decline. Symptom 4, what's next, y'all? Somebody leave a comment. Let us know what's going to be symptom 4.
It's become dead weight. It's crushed consumer spending, wrecked business confidence, and triggered a slow erosion of public trust. And that last part is what really scares the CCP, because it's almost the same as what happened to the United States back in 2008.
The fact that and then tying in 2008 to it, where it's like these events are so related. If anybody can't see, like, these events are so related, because what? China ended up abandoning their customs, their culture, abandoning everything, basically got whited out, let's be honest. There used to be some Afro-Chinese, okay? They didn't put them folks somewhere down south, but they basically fell in line with the Roman Catholic Church and what they were trying to do. They fell in line with Revelations 18. They loved Babylon's drunkenness. They loved it. It's like, let's do trade. Let's oppress these people. Let's be a little bit racist here and there. Let's be prejudiced.
It just shows me, like, it's an agenda that they're pushing, because when you see people going to China, when you hear people going to China, even from Africa, you know, Nigerians going there, going to school and stuff, Ghanaians going there, going to school and stuff. It's cool. It's everything's good, right? You know, certain people from America go there. Oh, everything's good. It's cool. But is it really? Like, okay, that can be cool, but the ultimate promise is the two sticks coming back together. That's just like once that happens, once everybody realizes that we need to just come back home,
Where is home?
come back to Africa. You get what I'm saying, and build relationships that way instead of trying to go to, oh, China got the best wigs and stuff. So I had a profitable business in the states with wigs, right? You got to think about this. It's a lot of consumers, right, in America. Now the tariffs hitting them. I'm pretty sure the people that got some real money, they going to China to try to pack up some suitcases to bring it back to America. They trying to weed out this tariff deal, right? I'm pretty sure a lot of people are doing that now.
And China's going to scramble for Africa at this
Yeah,
rate. They're
but
going to push
they
even harder and quicker.
exactly they see the bigger picture, but we have to see the bigger picture. That's why I say you got to play chess. Like the ultimate end game is going to be right here. It's going to be a pawn and a king. It's probably going to be it's going to be the queen, right? It's going to be the queen and the king, and the queen is going to knock the king off. If you understand what I'm talking about, if you understand chess, because we are the bridesmaid of Yahusha, to be honest. So you really gotta think at the end game. That's how I see it.
Yeah, yeah. I do pray that people can discern this stuff, especially as it relates to prophecy. I remember I was speaking to my mom one day a few years ago, talking about prophecy, revelations, and her friend. She was saying like her friend will call her and be like, "Oh, I hate reading Revelations. It's so negative." We better get used to digesting things that are bitter. For example, when we were in Tanzania, we learned that you can drink something called neem, and it's super sour, but it cures malaria. It does not taste good going down. It tastes dreadful. It tastes horrible, but it cures malaria without you having to go up to the Western hospital, without you having to fool with all this other stuff. These pharmacia drugs, it cures it. A leaf, the neem tree,
It's a lot of trees here.
bitter. So you had better get used to drinking bitter medicine than trying to get these sugary, fluffy, propaganda, whatever that you listen to that's not clear about. End times is not supposed to be comfortable. There's nowhere in end times prophecy where it's like, okay, this is going to be a cushion ride. The wilderness for the Israelites was not cushiony. That's why they got plunged out of it. That's why the ground opened up and ate them alive and left Caleb and Joshua and the younger generation. It's not comfortable to read Revelations.
Yeah.
We're not here for your comfort. We are here as watchmen to tell you what's happening so that by the grace and the favor of the Most High, you have an ounce of wisdom, discernment, understanding to prepare and listen to what the Spirit says to the assembly.
Yeah. Truth hurts, guys. It's gonna be bitter. It's gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna be like but
it's bitter to the world. Look at the world right now.
The truth is
Pay
good.
attention.
Really.
And if for 1 second you think the Most High doesn't care about what happens in the world, you would be wise to go look back at Amos, look at Zephaniah. All throughout Amos, you can just look at Amos alone. If you pull out each pattern from each chapter, he's speaking to every different nations. The Most High cares about what happens on his earth because it's his, it belongs to him. China probably is going broke with the trade war, Don Ben Yehuda. It looks like it. It's hitting both of them badly. They're both
that's what I was just saying.
Over.
That's what I was just saying. Look, 30% real estate, right, is falling, been falling for years. Now this trade war is going to hit their biggest income, right? Is the tariffs is going to hit their factories and stuff, the workers and stuff, because the workers haven't been paid like the since the beginning of the year.
So they're slaves.
Think about it. I'm like,
are they not slaves?
Pretty much, but it's deep, y'all. Like it's just the media is going to show you what you want to see. It's going to show you a lie, or it's kind of going to show you the truth too. But it's just really what you believe.
Yeah, you better tap into these videos. Like we're telling you guys, go click on this video, go watch this. It'll tweak your algorithm, so you're going to start seeing things that are happening and praying for the strength.
You're gonna get both sides.
Peace and wisdom so that you can move appropriately in these times. That's what's required. That's why the book of Revelation was written. It wasn't written to make you comfortable. We got to get out of this thing where we just constantly want to be cushioned and comforted. And you're in the last days, like the last few ones that will exist on earth. Like you had just better get so the same way that they will teach you in sales engineering that you better get used to rejection, because the closer you get to rejection, the closer you get to success. It's the same way with this bitterness that you hear, this bitterness that you see even in the scriptures. You had better receive all of it so you can get closer to the promise to understand what's happening, because
They
there are
understand.
practical action steps that you must take in this life. Period.
It's
That's
happening.
what obedience is. Without taking those steps, then there is no such thing as obedience. It's disobedience. Then, so the next logical question from a spiritual standpoint should be, okay, what do I need to be? What do I need to do to be obedient to what you've written in my book of life? And that's something that you have to question the Most High on for yourself. Nobody can answer that for you except Yah, because He's the only one who wrote your book of life.
Think about it, y'all. It's happening. It's happening.
Get rich. Prices kept rising, and everyone, from banks to buyers, started believing they'd never go down. The rush to own property was so extreme that developers sold out entire complexes before even pouring the foundation. People weren't buying homes to live in, they were buying their second, third, and sometimes fourth property just to ride the boom. But once the construction was done, many of these homes just sat there. They had owners, but no one lived in them. And when the crash finally came, it was brutal. Prices tanked, banks failed, millions lost their homes. Entire financial institutions collapsed. It triggered a global recession that took years to recover from. But here's the difference. America had a diversified economy. People had stocks, they had retirement accounts, and small businesses. China, it's different. Chinese families don't invest the way Americans do. Many people don't trust the stock market. One data set shows that nearly 70% of household wealth in China is tied directly to real estate. Not stocks, not businesses, not savings accounts, just property. That means they're not just exposed to the crash, they're trapped in it. No safety net, no plan B. This is why millions of families are finally realizing that the one thing they trusted the most, their home, is bleeding value every month.
Every month.
Housing market crash. But the benefit, if, I don't know, who's in China, but the benefit here would be if you were like a real estate investor and you get it when it's low. It's bad for those that are trying to sell or trying to endure and hold on because the value is diminishing. But if they were like a real estate investor, if they hadn't purchased a house yet or anything like that, they were kind of trying to wait out and see to get in when it's low so that it'll increase, because what falls down is going to come back up. It's the reality. Until the world's over, what falls down is going to come back up. And so that's potentially a benefit for people that are able to discern and see. This is why it's so important to understand economics and entrepreneurship.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's interesting. It's like, alrighty, y'all. But there are more videos on this topic, y'all. They are all over YouTube. How China's property bubble is bursting. Housing crisis, China's reckoning. 11 days ago, China's economy crisis is worse than you think. Here's why. Al Jazeera covered it a month ago. China's real estate collapse. Economic slowdown leaves investors empty-handed. The investors are empty-handed, y'all. I wonder what's going on with Europe's mortgage crisis.
It's very good. I was trying to look at it. Or maybe not. Every time I think Europe, I think Russia too.
Again, what's causing Europe's housing crisis? Top video that pops up. Immigration in Europe's housing crisis 10 months ago. Just build more. Tourism is killing the city. Barcelona is fighting for affordable housing. EU housing crisis. It's like a lot of these markets are suffering right now.
Yeah.
A lot of these world power markets.
Everything has to fall. Everything has to fall. You really just gotta, when it comes down to it, really, really seek the Most High, build a relationship with Him, and have Him lead and guide you, because it's just getting down to that where everything is going to fall, and you got to realize that. So you got to understand the times that you are in. If you do not have an online business, please get your online business. Learn how to make some money outside of working a job.
Yeah.
Really, because even if you travel, even if you go somewhere to another country, it's hard to get a job there. because they don't want a foreigner to come in and work.
And look at this economy. Unless you're going to
want,
Mauritius.
Yeah. But
that's one of the only countries that's easy to get a job in. But for you coming from the West, for you, it'll be difficult. But a lot of people from all around the world, China, Indonesia, Africa, South Africa, Cameroon, Congo, Nigeria, Ghana, come to Mauritius to get jobs because they have a bustling economy. It's becoming the new Singapore of Africa. But I also saw an Instagram that was like, I think it was the co-founder of LinkedIn, potentially. She was talking about how in the next 5 to 10 years, jobs are not going to exist by 2034 because 50% of the workforce will be freelancers. So it's like two things. You had better become a consultant, a freelancer, an online business owner, or open an online branch of your business, a type of marketing media company that you can open for your business in your industry while you're on top, while it's comfortable, while it's your choice. Or else you're going to be waiting till 2034 and then it's not going to be your choice. We've seen how many people have been forced out of technology jobs, sales jobs, federal jobs, which in my family, they would always say, you know, get a government job. It's the best thing. So many government workers in different industries in my family on both sides. Get a government job. It's literally the best thing. And then they just laid off 200,000 people at the start of the year. Tesla tanking. Why? Because Elon Musk just couldn't keep his mouth shut when he was in the White House. And now they got him out the White House. Trump was like, oh, thank you, Elon. You know, we appreciate you. And the American people were like, I'm glad he's out. That was crazy. So it's like you had better be ready for these times. You better be ready to receive the bitterness of the medicine that you need. Medicine is not designed to be a candy bar. Medicine is not designed to be cotton candy. Medicine is designed to heal you. So you need to get your economic medicine. You need to get your prophetic medicine in the word again. You may want to read the book of Isaiah. You may want to read Zephaniah 3. You may want to read the entirety of Revelations and do a Bible study without your church, just you and Yah, you and the Most High, because you're going to need relationship over church. The Most High says, I dwell in a body that's not made with hands. He says, I'm not really in the church buildings all like that. That's not really where I'm at. You know, the other nations, they have temples and things, but the Most High, he's like, you're the body. I want to dwell inside you. You're my temple. The church, that's secondary. The church is the body, like actual humans that believe on the blood of Yahusha and his resurrection. That's the body that the Most High is talking about. That's his assembly. Everything else is just for show, which we can see with the way the Pope had just passed away. Donald Trump, he want to be the Pope. Italy responds back, the Vatican, they said, we don't really want you to be the Pope. It's like, what is even happening right now? Like, why are they doing tit for tat in the pagan temple?
That's the question. Like, what's really happening? That's why I say you just got to step back, see the bigger picture, see what the bigger picture is. Propaganda, exactly. This the media stuff. You always got to, you know, have a when they tell you to look left, look right, because it's a lot. It's an agenda that's happening right now. Exactly. There's propaganda that's happening to lead people astray to the most important thing. And what is the most important thing? Your relationship with the Most High. Like, really, because if you have that, that's all that you need, and he will lead and guide you to where you need to be in these last days, because everywhere is going to have to fall, especially the big superpowers that they say now. You get what I'm saying? So you gotta really have the discernment. You gotta have the wisdom, the understanding to really survive what's to come, because it's coming and it's not going to stop. It's coming and it's not going to stop.
I think what's funny, Reddit, that's China. They I'm empathizing from their perspective. So you got to question, okay, why would they need this propaganda? Why would they need people to want to come there? Remember, we just talked about population declining. There's no people to purchase these houses, rent the houses, live in them. There's not enough workers. They need some more slaves, some more workers, because they treat a lot of people like trash, quite honestly, their own people. So obviously they want some of the Americans, whoever's online, some of the Africans, they want everybody, come to China. It's going to be great. Well, y'all already know how I feel. Y'all know how we feel. We're gonna be right here on the motherland continent. Okay. I just have no desire to ever live in China whatsoever. I don't care if the house is $3. You remember Italy had those $1 houses? What you get me into where I would buy a $1 house? What's going on in that village? Why would I go somewhere? Cheap isn't always what's best. Cheap is often a trap. So that's why the propaganda, you got to think, why do they want all this propaganda going out like, come quickly, come to China, it's going to be great. Then you fool around, now you stuck there. I know for me, I only go to places that I wouldn't mind being stuck in. Like, I will not travel somewhere that I think that if I got stuck here, I wouldn't want to be here. Like, I'm totally cool if I had to stay in Mauritius for the rest of my life. I'm totally fine with that. Totally good. But China, even Russia, I admire, some of their traditions and customs, how they didn't colonize, but I wouldn't be living there. I'd probably rather live than America, but at the same time, it's like I still wouldn't be wanting to live like there or like that. I would be staying right here where I'm at.
Yeah, you gotta find your safety or place, or allow the Most High to lead you to the safety place for you, because it's not like what's for us is not always for everybody. It's literally just for us, and that's what people have to understand. Like, the Most High like really leads us and guides us no matter like where we go and what we do, because He is our trust. He is our guide, and that's just what it is, and that's what you have to seek, and that's just it. Like, really, like, what's going on just everywhere, even here in Africa, the Africans uniting and stuff like that, just everything. You really gotta step back and look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, you have to. Like you said, what's popular, we tend to divert away from what's popular. Immediately our brains, like if we see something super popular, we'll stop and just be like, okay, I should probably go the other direction. That's just wisdom.
Yeah,
that's just seeking the ancient path. That's just a pattern with seeking the
it's
narrow
popular
path.
Here, look, if it's
the
popular,
path is narrow for a reason, because not a lot of people can find it.
Yeah, if it's popular,
need that on a t-shirt.
You'll see us kind of going like this. We ain't turning our back, but it's just like we just stepping back just to try to see the bigger picture. And that's just what it is.
Yeah.
So this live was not supposed to be this long, but all praises to the Most High. Yeah. Just make sure you seek Him. Make sure you build your relationship with Him, because the time is now to get right and repent and really show what's really happening right now is for a reason. What's really happening right now is for a reason, and it has to happen. And it's just gonna get worse.
And Africa will rise. And remember, Psalms 37 says the righteous eat in a famine. So remember Joseph's perspective, even Daniel's perspective, Jeremiah's perspective, all of these prophets and forefathers, although there's famine in the world, they were pretty well off. Mm-hmm. They were living good. They were second to the government command. They were living good. Now, a lot of the people, it was Psalms 91, 1,000 shall fall at my left side, 10,000 at my right, but it shall not come nigh to me. Only with your eyes will you see and behold the reward of the wicked, because you have made Yahuwah El Elyon your habitation. Therefore, no evil shall befall you in your dwellings. Understand the remnant is walking in that. Understand the remnant is going to be very well off. Mm-hmm. Because Deuteronomy 8:18 and Deuteronomy 11, Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 28. Okay. So the remnant's going to be beyond good. And he says, I'm not doing it because you're all that great. In Torah, he says, I'm actually blessing you because the wickedness of the nations. Let that be a prayer point that you use when you're trying to discern what to do, where to go, how to move. Start to pray and activate. Okay, let me pray for mercy, and then pray on accordance with not for my righteousness, but for the wickedness of those around me. That's why you'll bless me. That's a prayer point that you need to use over time. Because again, don't be self-righteous, don't be prideful. Because the self-righteous and prideful, Proverbs 6 and 16 through 19, he says he is far from the prideful. He says the prideful pray, he don't even listen, can't even hear him. His ears, he's like, oh no, I'm not even listening to that. You're too prideful. I see your heart. It's like a stone. Can't even speak to you. Can't even bring a prophet your way. You gonna smack him. Can't even bring anybody to tell you any truth. So he says, I'm near to the meek and the humble. I'm near to the brokenhearted and oppressed. I'm near to the black sheep. That's what Yahuwah says. When you look at Joseph, Daniel, and Jeremiah, those are some of my favorite three to look at. If you look at their stories, study it out, write it out, journal it out, and see these patterns where it's like, oh, they were not they were known. People knew their names, obviously, but they weren't popular in the sense of hanging out everywhere, doing all the things, being all the things. They were behind the scenes about the Most High's business or about whatever business they had. Joseph, yeah, everybody knew him. But then the day he was about strategy. He was about obedience. He was about understanding these visions the Most High was giving him, being second in command to Pharaoh and executing on whatever he had to execute to keep his word, because that's Torah. Jeremiah. Everybody knew Jeremiah, but they was looking at him like, God, we sick of listening to him. That young kid don't know what he's saying. Talking about we going into captivity. Then captivity came and Jeremiah was free, living his best life. It was sad for him because he was like, oh man, these are my people that went into captivity. Daniel, again, similar to Joseph's story, he ends up, seeing his people taken away in captivity, but he survives and is eventually let out and eventually kind of get in this comfortable space. Like the Most High doesn't forsake the chosen. They may be oppressed for a little while, but he doesn't forsake them. Yeah, Kuzingata. They didn't listen to Noah either. Right. Everybody probably knew Noah. All the giants, all the mini giants, all the different hybrids they had back then. They were like, oh, everybody knows Noah. He out there building a boat. We don't even know what rain is. Talking about rain. What is water from the sky? Noah sounds insane. Until that water came and it was like, well, I guess the animals coming in 2 by 2 for the clean ones, or 2 by 2 for the unclean, 7 for the clean, Noah and his family, and then that was it. I bet he sounded real crazy for the first, 30 years. They were like, I don't see any rain. It's been 30 years. What's this you're talking about? But saved his entire legacy and generation and all humanity that exists today. Because of one man's obedience in the face of adversity, one man's obedience in the face of people that just didn't know what the heck they were talking about. You got to endure. That's why it says endure to the end. That was endurance. Noah did not doubt the Most High. Abraham didn't doubt him. He said, yeah, when I heard clearly. I'm not going to backpedal just because you don't like it. It doesn't matter. If you're elder, younger, blue, green, orange, don't matter if you got a rainbow face. It doesn't matter who you are. But at the end of the day, the forefathers stood on the Most High's word, and that was it. And those who offended, they just got offended. Oh, well, go do something else. Because you don't realize a lot of people that get offended won't even be in the won't even be able to stand in the last days. We're not even all the way through Revelations, where Revelation says 2/3 of the earth is going to be decimated. You will end up listening to people that are walking zombies in the spirit. Yeah. Please be careful.
Because it's a lot of stuff that has to happen too, and you just, no man knows the day or hour, only the Most High. So. It's still a lot that has to happen. It's still a lot of prophecy that has to happen, but it's happening. It's clear as day. It's happening. So you gotta. That's why I say just build, like, really hold on to the Most High, hold on to His word, because that's going to be the most important thing in these last days. It's going to get taken away. Like if you physically cannot touch His word, you gotta have it spiritually. Really.
Yeah, I think that's it for this video, y'all. That's intense. I know it's intense for us too. It's like, wow, it's a struggle in the last days, but you gotta know you're blessed to even be able to live in these times. You You gotta change your perspective.
Think joy, think love, think peace. Don't think like everything is bad. Everything is good.
It's working out how it's supposed to.
Yeah. So all praise to the Most High, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like the video, and we'll talk to you in the next video or next live.
Shalom.
Shalom, shalom. Peace.